Hi, I'm Ed Bacon, the rector of All Saints Church, Pasadena. Whoever you are and wherever you find yourself on the journey of faith, I hope that you'll find something here that speaks to you. Welcome.
May the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be aligned with your love, O God, our strength, our courage, and our freedom. Amen. Last Sunday afternoon, I spoke at the West Hollywood Book Fair about my new book, 8 Habits of Love. I don't know if you all knew that I had written a book. I was delighted that I was assigned to a panel addressing the topic of love and mindfulness with the great Marianne Williamson and a great new friend of mine, Andrew Mellon. Marianne Williamson is known for her best-selling book, A Return to Love. And in the book, she wrote one of the most frequently quoted paragraphs of modern times, often mistakenly attributed to Nelson Mandela's inauguration speech. The paragraph bears repeating. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Now, I have preached that paragraph for 20 years, and so you can imagine the excitement I had in being able to meet Marianne Williamson and have a public conversation with her. We met in the green room, and then at the appointed time were escorted to the stage for our hour-long conversation. After Andrew Mellon introduced Marianne and talked about her books, then he introduced me and spoke about my book. And at that point, Marianne interrupted the proceedings and said, "Before we continue, I think it is important to congratulate Ed. Am I correct? This is your first book and this is your first time speaking at a book fair?" I said, "Yes." And then Marianne Williamson proceeded to say, "Then we should celebrate. It is no small task to write a book. I'm certain that Ed poured his soul and heart into this book." And then she held it up. She said, "We just need a moment to celebrate this milestone." And then she began applauding, and everyone else, of course, joined her. And then I began smiling, and, of course, I had a lump in my throat. I hugged her. I was amazed by her generosity. But what I remember to this moment is the felt experience of a biochemical change inside me, a change in my body, in my soul, in my heart, in my mind. Her generous gesture, and gesture is really too light a word, her generous act, demonstration of kindness, literally changed the course of the afternoon for me. And I think it made me a more generous and kind human being, because I want to extend the same kind of generosity to others that she extended to me. Such, my friends, is the guaranteed effect of generous acts of kindness. When we express to someone else the kindness that we feel and know that is in our hearts and in the universe, we literally change the course of history in that person's life. And the ripples of change in that person's life continue to grow until something in the wider course of history itself is changed. All from one act of kindness, generously expressed. Kindness is the essence of God. Kindness is the essence of the universe. The word loving kindness appears 23 times in the Psalms alone. My favorite is, your loving kindness is better than life itself. And God's loving kindness is used to summarize God's activity, especially, now this is the case all the way through the Bible. God's loving kindness is used to summarize God's activity, especially toward those who have made a huge mess of their lives, or who have broken covenant with God. Most appropriately translated compassion, God promises in the prophetic book Hosea to marry us, to become married to us forever with loving kindness or compassion. Think about the fact that it may be the case that the very best way to tell the story of your life is to tell the moments throughout your life when someone was generous with you, generous in blessing you with the kindness or compassion that they had received or that they had found in life, and they chose to pass that blessing of kindness on to you. Marianne Williamson that afternoon later expressed an important related truth. The only thing we really have is what we have given away. Winston Churchill famously said, "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give." My favorite image for the phenomenon of generously blessing others that I'm describing in this sermon is the geographical phenomenon of the Sea of Galilee and the Dead Sea in Israel-Palestine. You've heard me speak of it so much, but I think about it at least once or twice each week. The Jordan River flows in the northern part of Israel-Palestine down into the Sea of Galilee, this huge body of water that is full of life and recreation and beauty. Then the Jordan River flows out of the Sea of Galilee and goes several miles to the south, where it flows into another body of water called the Dead Sea. But the Dead Sea is actually dead because nothing flows out of the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea has inflow, but no outflow. The Sea of Galilee has both inflow and outflow. And what we are called to be in life are seas of Galilee, not dead seas. The only life we have is that which we give away. For it is only in giving out that we make more capacity to receive. That is the essence of affluence. The word affluence comes from the word affluere, which means to flow. The only true affluence is where we are giving away that which we receive, and then we discover that life is much richer for us because we've made life richer for someone else. It is important to understand that few acts of generosity or of spiritual affluence take place in life without our having to step over some kind of inner resistance to being generous. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough to give, we tell ourselves. I don't have the time to stop and be kind. That person really doesn't deserve it. What will I do if I give away this blessing of money or time or kindness or goodwill? Will they really appreciate it and do well with it? Of course, all these questions are the voice of fear and not of love. When I look at my life in terms of how I've been blessed and thus have been given life to move forward so that I could give more, I think of a very important moment with my own father. That Baptist preacher, father of mine, had a very difficult time understanding why this son of his had left the Baptist church and become an Episcopal priest, much less think of moving to California. And yet, when I asked my dad for his blessing to move beyond the script he had written for me, he, on his deathbed, blessed me and summoned up the life force so that I could hear on the other end of the telephone line, "Son, go for it." Even despite his own internal resistance that he had of understanding who I was and what I was about. Marianne Williamson's famous quotation says, "We are all meant to shine as children do." In this morning's gospel, Jesus places a child in the midst of his disciples, those grumpy disciples who were scolding the children from being too fidgety and noisy around Jesus. Those disciples didn't get it. They were in a regressive posture, taking 2 steps back in their understanding of what was important in life. Richard Rohr, the great Franciscan Catholic thinker and writer, notes that every time the Bible shows God as wrathful and punitive, that the Bible at that point is in a regressive 2 steps back posture. Like our lives and like all of our relationships, the Bible progresses by taking 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. But when God is shown as always loving, always blessing, never allowing human behavior to determine how generous God is going to be in return, then we have the 3 steps forward understanding of God, which was not made clearly manifest until the resurrection. That God forgave the entire world after the world killed this beloved Christ. God's generosity is unconditional, despite our bad behavior. And we are called in our love and generosity to be stably unconditional, despite others' bad behavior. When Marianne Williamson, as well as Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount, say that we are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us, it's not this glory of God, this divinity is not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. Both Williamson and Jesus are talking about that part of us that has the power to love unconditionally. We have that power. And it's calling us not to allow our giving or our blessing others or our generosity or our compassion, our affluence, to be hampered by the bad behavior of others. To let the divine light shine through us, through our generosity, no matter what, is one of the ways in which we allow our own light to shine. And then when we do that, we unconsciously give other people the permission to do the same. Now, All Saints Church is a church dedicated to healing. The healing of those of us who come to church here, and especially the healing of those who don't come to church here. We're dedicated to the healing of this nation, and we're dedicated to the healing of the world. And some thinking that's really helped me in this arena is a book that Sally Howard, one of our members who's a psychotherapist and is on her way to the priesthood, she gave me this book by John Bowlby called A Secure Base, prior to my going on sabbatical 2 years ago. John Bowlby is a child psychologist who claims that to the degree that any of us has a secure base of love in our psyches, that we are more readily equipped to see life as an adventure and to go on that lifelong adventure until the day that we die. Or as the New York Times columnist David Brooks recently wrote in talking about Bowlby, life is best organized as a series of daring adventures from a secure base. Now, I have yet to meet someone who was perfectly parented. But to the degree that we were loved unconditionally by our parents, we were given this secure base from which we can go on the adventure of healing this nation and the world. We have entered into Stewardship Month, in which we are going to be talking about why we give. Hope, my wife and I, give 10% of our income to All Saints Church. Don't have to think about it. A check comes in, we write another check for 10%. One of the reasons we do that is because in this church and in other faith communities, we have understood that those places where our parents didn't perfectly parent us, that God is there with unconditional love to build in our psyche a secure base so that we can go out on the adventure of life. And in our giving, we have this wonderful experience of All Saints Church audaciously calling for public policy and politics to heal the nation so that this nation can do what it always was supposed to do, and that is to be a light of healing to all of the nations, to bring justice and peace and inclusion and wholeness to everyone. And so we happily respond yes to God's call to be spiritually affluent, to give away what we have, to make more room, to receive even more and then give even more. That is what it means to express the glory of God inside of us. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us. The glory of God is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates us. Say yes to the call to be spiritually affluent. Amen.